Hey everyone, we are back for another incredible episode this week commemorating the 2024 Olympic Games and reminiscing about its marching arts ties. We will find out what made Chris say.
So we had to relearn the entire show going, okay, I'm 2 off of R19 and 4 in front of Q90, whatever.
And why Nicole said.
See, here's my thing, and this is why I bring this up. Breakdancing has now become an Olympic sport.
Great.
You know, and I watched some of it. I'm down.
All this and more. So get out on the field and we will see you back on the sidelines for this week's episode of On a Water Break.
8 off the mat and go. Welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts. Everyone, bring it in. It's time for a water break.
Welcome to another episode of Season 2 of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. I'm Jackie Brown. This week, it is about to be the halfway point for one of the most time-honored traditions of athleticism in our world, the 2024 Olympics. And no Olympic celebration would be complete without looking back at the ties that the Olympics have had throughout the years with the artistry of the ceremonies. In particular, the artistry of the marching arts. But first, let's see who's on the sidelines today. Nicole, I feel like we keep doing episodes around each other, and I haven't seen you in ages.
It's true. It's true. I'm just like, anytime you say, hey, does anybody need, do you need an extra, co-host? I'm like, wait, I haven't seen Jackie, so this is like our catch-up time.
Yay!
Not to mention, it's just nice to have someone else in your seat. You know what I mean?
Yes, true. And Chris Rutt, I haven't seen you in 800 years, I swear. You look great for your age, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, it's the Southern California sun, right?
That'll do it to you. And back this week, because we had such a great time last week on it wouldn't be last week at this point. It's probably going to be like 2 weeks ago when this airs. The Peggy Twiggs episode. Hi, Barbara Hopkins.
Hey, Barbara.
I'm excited you're back. We also have a special guest today who has more Olympic experience to add. Did I mention that we've all got some sort of ties to the Olympics here for this episode? Paul O'Keefe. Hi, Paul.
Hey, everyone. How you doing? It's nice to meet everyone.
I see you on Facebook all the time, and I'm like, I know this person. I know this name. We run in a lot of the same circles, and it's so cool whenever you get to just meet somebody like that in the same circles in the marching arts and so on.
Yeah, it's kind of like you all get the conversation all at once because we're cut from the same mold, It's nice.
Yes, definitely. Well, Paul, since this is your first episode with us, we have a little tradition that we do.
Okay.
It's called the 32 count life story. And basically what we're going to do is I have a Dr. Beat queued up here, and Dr. Beat is going to give you a metronome of 8 counts, and then you can just start telling your life story, and it'll give you 32 counts. You need to tell us everything that has ever happened to you from the day you were born. Don't forget to include the Olympics until today, okay?
Oh, it can't be done. Okay, can't we just start from like the 70s?
No pressure, of course.
You could just say, I was born.
And then skip. And if you run over, we don't make you do push-ups or anything, so you'll be okay.
A little bit of drum corps tips, like drum corps stuff that happened to me, in my color guard experience, because I was a horn player. So
okay, well let me give you the metronome. Here you go. Ready?
Okay. Okay. I was born in 1960. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. My family was involved in drum corps. I was involved with drum corps. My brothers and sisters were involved in the activity. My parents drove the bus. I was involved with the Pembroke Imperials. And then I loved being able to say I could march with the 27th Lancers. In 1975, that was my dream, to march with them. I was also the first boy rifle in the state of Massachusetts from my high school, and had to go before the board to get permission because you didn't have boys in color guard in Massachusetts. So that's a little
Wow.
bit about me.
Wow. Wow. Good for you. But you had to go,
Okay, that's hard to do.
It
you know,
doesn't always fit.
I love to watch people do the 32 count line store because I'm just like, when you start to like get down to the last couple of seconds, you can see people like try to speed up what they're talking about. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so much fun to watch.
So you got to march with the 27th Lancers then?
I came to the drum corps in the winter of 1979 after the 79 season, and saw them in Birmingham. And I marched with the drum corps called the Pembroke Imperials, which had disbanded. The New England corps were kind of, like anywhere else. That the era from VFW, those other corps were kind of just finances were an issue. So 27 was really instrumental in being able to, go after talent in other drum corps that had kind of like gone by the wayside. So a lot of my friends from Pembroke Imperials had gone to the Lancers in 78, 79. So I made the transition in the winter of 79, and I was there for the 80 and 81 season. So it was great. And then I was on staff for a little bit. So yeah, I loved it. I loved every minute of the 27 corps. Yeah, fantastic.
So tell us about marching, about the Olympics. How did you get involved? How did your corps get involved with that? What was your experience like? Let's start there.
Well, when Tommy Walker saw the corps in Birmingham and DCI in 1979, and so he was watching the I guess on TV on PBS from the broadcast of PBS live. So he saw the corps, and it was really the color guard that sold him. Visually, I mean, they were everything to the corps visually, in those days. And and it was close by in Lake Placid, and it was not that far away. So yeah, we fit the bill, so a lot of work though. I can remember people like Patsy B and May Zingali and all the women have to, do 400 silks, for, the little doll flags, and then the bigger flags. So there was a lot going on. It was funny. And then we had to perform on ice for the closing ceremonies. So we had a brace of cloth. Yeah, a brace of cloth that was glued to the bottom of our shoes to be able to march on the ice. Yeah, it was fun. It was fantastic. I mean, one of the best moments for me was there was behind the regular rink on the closing ceremonies, there was another rink where we were practicing our, routine. And then a lot of the athletes were around us, and they were blown away by what we were doing. And it felt so great because these are people that are the same age as we are, it's like, so it was so much fun. I loved every minute of it, really.
So is that how you and Barbara met? Barbara, what's your connection?
Yeah.
I was in the Lancers 76 to 80, so I was able to go to the Olympics, and Paul was young, but we had a lot of people that came in from Pembroke. And in Massachusetts, you have a North Shore and you have a South Shore, depending if you're north or south of Boston. I'm from south of Boston, and Pembroke was probably one of the best drum corps that never made finals. And when things went south for them, we really benefited from those people. Plus, they were a South Shore corps, so it was pretty cool. So I knew him we probably had about 12 or 13, right, Paul?
Right, at least, yeah.
We had the best. We had Cliffy White, who was the contra individual winner, and he's phenomenal if you ever see the video. He was going to the New England Conservatory at the time.
Wow.
Phenomenal player, legendary.
He was also one of the members that helped carry in the Olympic flag.
Yeah, he was in the group that carried the Olympic flag, which is a great story. You should tell that story, or I can tell that story.
Yeah, you tell that story about the Boy Scouts.
So Tommy Walker discovered us. The color guard, we may have done a little bit more than the drum corps as a whole, but the very first event we did was kind of a town event, and all the churches got together. They did an ecumenical ceremony, and so we were in uniform and we were all lined up, and Tommy was there with his significant other, whose name was Judy, and they were kind of in charge. And he's in the front getting all nervous. And he said to me, because I was the front, because I was the shortest, and Mary Berkeley was behind me. Mary Berkeley is a WGI Hall of Famer. I'm sure you know all about her.
I was going to say, I know the name.
Yeah. She was older, but she took time off from work to do it. It was great. And so Tommy said, we've got to have you come out with like equal spaces between. And we went, all right, sounds like a 4 pace. So we just passed it down, keep the 4. And so we walked out with our perfect 4. And we did our thing. We went around the perimeter. We stopped. Then we all left, and the lights and everything. And Tommy's like, wow, that was perfect. And we're like, yeah, we do this. This is good. So we did a lot of things. We did a commercial downtown Lake Placid with the full drum corps for Dandy Don Meredith live Monday Night Football for Lipton Tea. Remember that? It was snowing. We did that. And then we rehearsed for like 2 or 3 days on the ice. They had some figure skaters from a club in Minnesota. So George Zingali and a guy named Tommy Mahoney, who was a choreographer who did movies and theater, and he had a name. He was a professional choreographer, and the two of them went out to kind of work with the skaters, and then George worked with us, and we just knew what we had to do, and we kind of had an idea. So we staged it on this big, huge patch of ice. Everything was done outside then. And
right.
So we did our thing. There was a little emotion going back and forth and ego, but that was kind of a funny story. But everything was fine. And then as everything was going on, they had some local like Boy Scout kids to walk the flag around, but they weren't in step. They didn't know what to do. And Tommy said, these guys can do everything. So they got they got the Contras, and they got our drum major, Gerard Dwyer, and they said, you do it. And they're like, yeah, we can do it. So they actually walked the flag around the track and hoisted it up the pole. I think they announced that they were the Boy Scouts from Lake Placid, but they weren't. They were us. And
I mean,
that's hilarious.
Here's the thing. The official program was printed, I mean, it's all in there, and
right.
It says Boy Scouts. So, and they were there. So I guess you had to give them credit. So it's like, it's okay.
But then you guys came out and played. So the whole crew came out and played as part of opening ceremonies. And, you've got to tell the story about the SUNY Potsdam School of Music, Paul.
Oh, so the Crane School of Music.
Crane School, yep. SUNY.
They were in a little dome area, and it was all behind glass and heated. When they're behind there with their instruments.
So it's a college music program right near Lake Placid, and they were very, very good.
Yeah, they were
phenomenal. They played, but they were protected and warm the whole time, and we were outside, and it was like 0 degrees.
So the issue for us was, we're tough New England kids. We can take it, but the issue was the valves. So we tried special valve oil, didn't work. It was about 30 seconds. There was a few of us that tried it with this person named, it was a dad. Mr. Kelly says, what about antifreeze? Because we had tried Teflon, didn't work. Graphite didn't work. So it was so crazy. So we figured it out, and it was car antifreeze. So we would line up, and we 2 valves back then, right? Not one. So you would stand there, and you would take our valve, dip it in the antifreeze, put it in.
Oh my gosh!
Do the second one, right? Yeah, not the safest. I don't know if it would pass OSHA these days. And that night, I mean, it was so cold. It was like minus 20 degrees.
At times, yeah.
One of the songs we had to learn was the Great Gate of Kiev, I guess. And so we'd be out there practicing, and we'd be in our street clothes, and we would, we looked like a ragtag bunch of kids, and we had an official outfit they'll tell you about, but that came a little bit later. So we're just trying to stay warm. So, and it's hard, it's hard as a horn player. It's hard to play a horn with gloves on. So we had these little cotton gloves, which were better than nothing. And so we'd keep our hands on our pockets. We'd put our mouthpiece in our pockets, and but the antifreeze worked. It was like,
oh my gosh,
it totally worked. It was amazing. I mean, there were other things that happened. I mean, the drum line had snapped wooden, the drumsticks would break, the mylar heads would break.
The heads were
So it
breaking
was
like
really,
crazy. Yeah.
it was like it was really like a learning curve, and this was things that no one thought of. We thought, well, we'll just get the special valve oil that will work, right? And actually, the Crane School of Music did try to help us with that, and so nothing was working. We were just out in the elements, that whole day practicing before it all happened, before the flags went in, before the stadium was filled, before Mondale got there. Any of that stuff happened, but yeah, it worked. And that night we all washed out once because we didn't have to do it again like that. Closing ceremonies were inside. It was a little bit warmer. The horns weren't going to freeze up, with stuff.
And this is like, it's January or February, right? That they do
February.
That they do the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
There was no stress when I think about it, and I never thought about it before, right? There was no stress. It was just all fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all fun.
And
yeah.
I'll never forget the women, like I said, May and Patsy, George, Mrs. B, them all sewing the fabric, because we couldn't wear our uniforms because our uniforms were very British Empire, the theme, so they had to be kind of nondescript, and we had to be warm, so we wore Levi company donated the corduroy jeans that we had. We wore our own footwear. We had a down cranberry vest, a white turtleneck top, and then
we're
going
to need to get some pictures of these things so we can put them up on our Instagram.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because man,
sure, absolutely. So, anyways, it was great. And then don't forget the pigeon release, Barbara. Remember the pigeon release?
Oh yeah, at the very end they had it was supposed to be doves, but they released pigeons. It was a big thing. They only did that once. Being on international television, that was pretty cool. So you had to be done in one take. So
that was all satellite back then.
Yeah,
right?
It was all
right?
like state of the art. Yeah, and the Lake Placid Olympics was the last time it was a small opening ceremony because everything changed because it was Sarajevo. So that's Soviet Union, and they did huge. And then Tommy Walker did the LA Olympics in '84, and that was huge. So we were the last little bitty kind of local, but it was still fun. It was still pretty impressive. I mean, we were on Sports Illustrated, and we were on Good Morning America, and we were on Today's Show, and live shots all over the place. And again, I didn't even think about this until recently. I don't remember any of it being stressful. Do you, Paul? It was like a vacation.
No.
It was like it was like Lancer vacation, and they, we had food all the time, which was nice because we were fed like everybody else who's an entertainer all the time.
I was going to say, did they put you up?
Lunches.
Well, we stayed in a school,
okay,
but once we were at the venue and we did rehearsals and before the actual performances, I mean, we got the same food in a box that the TV crew got. So I remember spending a lot of time eating with the TV crew because they had a huge TV crew and they were kind of fun to talk to. So, that was their job, but we had a lot of fun talking to them. There was something about that whole show business thing that we were able to relate to, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Don't you think so, Paul? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just because we had done lots of like Merv Griffin shows and local chronicle shows.
That was really early 1975.
Many on tour locally. We had a lot of publicity at home. We had the local PBS station did an hour documentary about us. So we'd had a lot of experience just being around cameramen and media and stuff like that. We got a lot of coverage from the local media as we were going out. So they'd drop by rehearsal and stuff. So that was really cool.
And the city of Revere was really great with supporting the drum corps back then, both financially, I mean, that was instrumental to us getting there in our 1954 buses. We had
to get there. We had to buy gas, and our buses were old. So it was a miracle that we were the miracle off ice, actually, that we got there twice. So we got there twice. Up and back. And it was crazy because a lot of us had to, I was in college then and I had to arrange to not go to classes for a week. But of course, it's hard to explain drum corps to people. So you don't explain exactly why you have to have a week off from college. I
Right.
just said I had a week off. I just had a thing. I had to be away for a week and do that. And we got to rub elbows with some other people that were there. Chuck Mangione was there because he was kind of he was pretty popular and he was pretty hot. So he was hanging out with us all the time. He, of course, was familiar with
Oh
drum
my
corps.
gosh.
So he was kind of like hanging out with us. I know some guys in the drum line got to hang out with him a little bit, and that was fun. And then,
So Chuck, that was like my senior year show. We did a Chuck Mangione show my senior year of high school, and so like that name is just sort of like it's
right.
core memories for me.
And he knew because by that point he had already done a live DCI broadcast, and a lot, everybody played his stuff, and
Right.
so he knew about
Especially
drum
the
corps
Devils.
enough to kind of be around us. And we, there was just a lot of background that it wasn't new and shocking to us. It was just, we were there to do our thing.
Right.
And it was fun. It was fun to do our thing. And yeah, the athletes were really supportive. I remember how we practiced the closing ceremonies inside the arena, and we did the file with the flag and the rifles and just did our thing. And they were just like, they just gave us this huge ovation. And I talked to, I wish I remember his name, but as we're watching all the coverage in between opening and closing ceremonies, they gave a lot of coverage to the guy who won the cross country events. He was a guy from Finland. He was 7 feet tall. So he was in the rink when we were getting ready to practice and almost do the closing ceremonies. And everyone's running up and asking for autographs. And they were really good about that. So I went up and just started talking to him. And I said, I saw you on TV and you're fantastic. I knew he spoke English from the broadcast. And he said, Mia, you are so good. Look at you. And it was so cool. So it was fun. And then one of the things we did for closing ceremonies was there was an up-and-coming choreographer named Moses Pendleton with a group called Pilobolus, and he was working at Dartmouth. And I'm so sorry that I can't remember the other guy that he worked with. So he kind of choreographed a thing with us where we got together as like a mound, and we were supposed to be on the earth. It was kind of crazy, but to us, it was kind of crazy. But we did it. But so it was like, we had our chance to do that, and that was kind of funny. I've seen it on video. I don't know if it's the most impressive thing he's ever done, but we did that.
Throwing anything together during an Olympic ceremonies rehearsal is impressive.
We did it. But we did opening and closing like that.
Yeah.
And again, it was sort of smaller then,
right?
But we could and we did. And because Tommy and Judy had all the faith in us, and they knew that we could do whatever they wanted us to do. So we did. And one of my favorite memories was the morning of Sunday morning, and the men's hockey team had won the night before against Russia. So they had to go off and do another game to beat Finland, I think. And all of a sudden people yelled, "They're here." So they had pulled up after beating Finland. So they had officially won the gold medal. So we knew that had happened. And someone said, "They're here." And all of us, it was the color guard. We were in there with all the local people and whoever was hanging out. We ran out of the rink and the bus was there. And all of a sudden the street between the bus and the ice skating rink was full of people. And the players got off the bus and they had to go through this mob. But it was like this huge, like happy people were jumping up and kissing each other. And I got picked up by a couple of the players, and the goalie was a guy named Jim Craig, who's still around, and he played for the high school in the town next to where I grew up in Northeastern, and I saw him play in high school a lot. We'd go watch local games, so I'm yelling, "Jim Craig, Hockomock League," which was the local league, and I heard his voice go, "Hockomock League, oh my God." So I didn't really get to see him, but it was really fun. So it was just crazy fun. They went in, and then later on, before we started opening ceremonies, they got the gold medal. So we get to see that from the back.
Paul, before we actually started recording, you were showing me some of your pin collection.
Oh yeah, so
this is it.
Yeah, so this is a souvenir hat that I picked up in one of the local shops. It was similar to the hats that we wore, but we had no emblem on it. Same shape, and then let's see, this This is a Russian, not Russian pin. And this pin here, the ring pin, is interesting because a bunch of us had been in a local shop and had bought these. And Tommy Walker came up to us because we were wearing them on our little wool jacket. And he said, "Where did you guys get those?" And so we told him where we got them. And so they were apparently illegal, non-Olympic merchandise. So they went down into the shop and they removed them all. So I think that's a funny story about that particular pin. I don't know what was the difference between this illegal pin and the one that,
the Olympics didn't make any money on it.
Yeah, this is a little bobsled.
Oh.
And then the hat, and this is the
I tell you what, the pin collecting culture at the Olympics is insane. Like, I know there's some crazy Disney pin people and there's some crazy people who like it, but the Olympic, because you're coming from all over the world and people literally are bringing just bags and bags of pins to trade. I got so into pin collecting when I was there.
Yeah, that was, and we didn't know anything about it. We were just there, and we figured it out soon that's what you do.
Yeah. Nobody told you ahead of time.
We'll do that. It was fun because we were right there when opening ceremonies happened and ended. They had a huge problem getting people into the tiny little village of Lake Placid, so they dropped us off downtown. Remember that, Paul? They just dropped us off downtown, and all the bars were open, and nobody cared. And everybody, we were there with all the athletes. I was with some people with the Dutch speed skating team, and they were in there, just partying it up. And we were right there with them. And because there were no tourists or anybody else there. It was the athletes, the production people, and us downtown. And it was crazy. So we got to talk to a lot of people that way. And everyone was excited. The whole town was excited. It was really exciting. And then that night, we went across the street to 2 local taverns, and all the locals bought us drinks all night because we were the locals who were at we were like, we did the show, like, you guys are great. This is awesome. Of course, they were all excited, and it was crazy. So
nice.
Yeah,
so this
fun
is
times.
1980 and the 27th Lancers. And then 84, I think, was LA. But then in 96, the Olympics came back. And Chris, that's when you got to be in the Olympics?
Yes.
You were, and you were with the Cadets?
Yes, it was my rookie year with the Cadets. Crazy experience to be a rookie and going to the Olympics. I remember they sat us down at like the February camp and explained that, oh, hey, by the way, we've been approached by the Atlanta Olympic Committee to have us perform in the closing ceremonies. And we were just like, we didn't understand what he was saying. We're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Hey,
what are we doing?
What are we doing? But so we did, and they said that it wasn't just going to be, oh, you're going to play some Olympic themes and then we're off the field. No, we're doing a whole segment. So we did this. We did a segment with the comedian Bill Irwin. You've seen him on multiple movies, but he is a slapstick artist too. And he was supposed to be the international drum major of marching bands from across the world, here to play the Cadets off the field. And so he came out and did his shtick. But we had to learn a whole second show on top of our competitive show.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So then
that was going to be my next question, because I've seen the video and I'm like, was this part of their show that they just, but nope. It's separate. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we had our main competitive show, the American West, which was fun, but then we had the Olympic show. So we performed the closer of our competitive show, which was done on the main field in the stadium, but with no yard lines. So when we got down to Atlanta, the Olympic Committee had plotted out the field with these little like 3x5 cards that said
these
R19.
Little blocks.
Yeah, R20. and which were not close to anything that resembled a field. So we had to relearn the entire show going, okay, I'm 2 off of R19 and 4 in front of Q90, whatever. But and of course there's no lights in the arena at our field. It was dark, and this is after a 20-hour bus ride. We had gone on first at Allentown. Like, it was the Friday show, the Friday of Allentown. We went on first at like 7:00. Our bodies at that time were not ready to perform at 7 because we kind of went on later. So it was awful. We got off the field, and George brings us all together, and he went, well, that wasn't it. Get on the bus.
Oh my gosh.
All he said, we're just like, yo, okay. So we got on the bus. We came in second that night too to the Cavaliers, so that was still fun. Going on first, awful show, still came in second. Good times. We drive 20 hours to Atlanta. We rehearse, and then on the Saturday, on the Sunday of the closing ceremonies, we were in the stadium all day because we had to, block out what we're doing. So we're on the field and arced up, and we were debuting the new Olympic themes that John Williams had written. And at one point, Olympic committee people start screaming at us, say, play something, play something. I felt like I was at the Bristol, Rhode Island parade. And so, because the last runner of the marathon was coming into the stadium, so we started playing the Olympic themes, and you could kind of see him. He looked over, and he was like wondering what the heck was going on, but he stood up even taller, and he ran. He made his way around. There was a lot of onions being cut in the stadium because everyone was in tears. It was so much fun. I will never forget that. But then afterwards, we got to eat, like what Barbara was saying. You got to eat with the crew and do all that stuff and go through 17 miles of security. And then we did the show. And what I remember most about it was standing, we're in the block in the tunnel, and the drum major says, we move together, and the drum major's the battery's tapping off the cadence. And the echo within that tunnel, as we're coming out onto the field, and there's 75 to 80,000 people in this stadium, was mind blowing. And I am a 17-year-old kid going, "Oh wow, this is fun!" But yeah, it's an experience I'll never forget. The show that we learned. We had Bill Irwin come out and meet us like 2 or 3 times on tour, so that he could practice with us, and he was so much fun. We spelled "Hi Mom" on the field, and it was a really great, really great experience. And a very good friend of mine from high school at the time, he was at a local bar in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and he was with his buddies. They just got off of work at Hershey Park, and the Olympics were on, and then my mug is on TV, and he like got his drink, is, dude, that's Rutt. So it was a great time.
Getting that close up is like, that's like the dream. That's like the dream right there.
Right? It really was one of those moments that I will never forget. And I can still feel, from when we're standing on the field, I can still feel the fireworks, the heat from the fireworks going off at the end of the stadium, which was being shot in the other stadium right next door. So it was really incredible. Wow. Yeah, it was truly.
Right, that was the old stadium they were going to tear down.
That's right.
I remember that story. Yeah.
And then to bring it full circle, now the DCI Southeastern Championships are done in that same stadium that we performed in. It's gone through many iterations over the years. The Braves played there, but now I think it's like a Georgia State soccer stadium, something like that. But yeah, so watching the DCI Southeastern Championships, going, that's the same field that we were on, and they were playing to the correct way. So, yeah.
Except for they have yard lines.
Well, yes. That really was a challenge, especially for a 17-year-old kid that has never marched drum corps before in his rookie year. going, okay, I'm going to guide the form. I'm just going to stay in between my two people and we should be fine.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
Do your thing as you were trained to do, right? I mean,
Right.
that's the wonderful thing about those experiences is like Barbara said, I mean, we were so well trained. It's like you just do it. It's like this isn't any big deal,
It's just the thing that you do.
And for me, and I think for everyone, here, that experience of the Olympics is everyone's kind of on the same wavelength. People are really happy, and it's just everyone's like the world is good, no
Right.
matter what's happening on the outside of the world. And to be able to perform at any Olympics, I mean, I think we're the only two drum corps and maybe a few color guards, right, that have done it ever,
Yeah.
And I just want to say, it looked good on TV that night because we were all excited to watch, kind of like joining the club.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No, it really was a really neat experience. And then afterwards, when the whole thing was done and and they wouldn't let, because of like the terrorist things going on in Atlanta at that time,
right.
They didn't allow any of our equipment trucks or the support staff. All the other trucks were about 20 miles outside of town. And so once we were done, we literally ran off the field and then straight onto our buses. And then we met the rest of the caravan about 20 miles away. That's when they fed us dinner. And then we drove back up to New Jersey.
But like, where did everything? Did you have to like shove drums under the bus and stuff?
Yes. They took all of our luggage and we put it on the prop semi, because remember we had those huge things. Yeah. So they threw all of our luggage under there, and then they put all the drums and the flags and in there, and then they shipped us on down. They had brought the front ensemble, they brought the pit in the day beforehand. And then they rented us a U-Haul. We put everything on the U-Haul and off they went afterwards. But, we didn't have electronics back then, so it was pretty easy.
So then how far apart was the timing from the Olympic performance to finals? Like, how much time do you guys have left in the summer?
We had like a week. Yes, it was right after Allentown.
Okay.
Yeah, which was because it was crazy because we were in Allentown, we went to Georgia, we went to Atlanta, we went back up to Clifton to our Cadets home show in good old Clifton Stadium. Mm-hmm. And it was again a terrible show because we had been on a bus literally for 21 hours. And then we get off the bus and the Blue Devils, bless them, they fed us. But you know how BD eats. They eat very well. So we had steak, baked potato, cake. And then they're like, okay, go perform, have fun. Oh, we were so tired. We were so
secretly sabotaging you.
Yeah, absolutely. They gave us like 3 points that day. We're like, we don't care. We just did the Olympics.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I still don't remember when we shouted because we left that night. Like we didn't stay at Clifton. I think we started heading south again. So it was like another 8-hour drive after the Clifton show. It was brutal. It was rough. After the Clifton show, we were ready to not be on a bus for a few days, which was great from the staff side of things because like, cool, now you're going to rehearse for 3 days because you've been awful. Yeah.
Give us some rest. Let's practice a little bit.
Well, we can all talk about philosophies of former instructors in the 90s. Sleep, as they would say, sleep is a rehearsal for death.
That's why the Winter Olympics are the one that you'd rather do, right, Paul? It just worked out.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's still on my top of my list. I mean, even though we didn't beat the big BD, we were second, so that was fine. But we had beat them the week before at DCIE, so by like 3 points, and we deservedly so beat them. And it was just like, yeah, we can beat you.
Yeah,
we all had the Olympics from that year, so
yeah. I mean, the Olympics kind of gave us a catalyst to kind of really push the show, and we were really a tight group of kids, and it was a great year, no matter what. I mean, it was a great experience. It was the best thing I've ever done to be able to do that with my friends. Is just amazing.
Yeah.
And at the Olympics, I mean, come on, there's nothing gets better than that.
That's the one of the big things is that I was with the 127 other people in that corps. Then we had spent we had such a great summer that the show we did was great, and we also did the Major League Baseball All-Star game that summer as well.
Oh wow!
In Philly. So I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff. So the fact we came in third or second or whatever, like that didn't matter. It was we had so many great experiences that year that to be with each other, and we all remember every little bit about that trip, even though some parts are blacked out. But
you gotta take the bad with the good sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I live in Southern California now, and with LA coming up in 4 years, I'm like,
Are you auditioning?
I'd like to. I mean,
I will email you stuff. I'm still on the email list, so I will email you stuff when it comes. I'll forward it your
Let's
way.
go. I'd love to do it. That would
So
be.
is this a whole? We're going to do it. We're all going to pick up a piece of
There we go.
equipment and get out there. What's the age limit? None?
There's no age limit. There's no age limit. Actually, when I was in the Rio 2016 Olympics, there was a woman who, now granted, she wasn't responsible for a lot of the other things that the rest of us performers were responsible for. Let's put it this way. But the supposedly the oldest woman to ever come to perform in the ceremonies was in the Rio Olympics, and it was like I think she was 98 years old. I did a little interview with her on the Spintronics channel on our YouTube channel, but she was great, and she was in great shape, and she was just happy to be there, and yeah, there's no age limit, so it's pretty cool. Let's go. So Chris was talking about those little like cards that they have for your drill markers. And we had these, actually, do I have it sitting right here? No. If I had it convenient, I would pull it. I literally just found them the other day, but I have the little, like, we have these bibs, and the bibs had like our number on them or whatever. And that was like your number where you go and stand to start the whole thing. And then it was crazy because it really is like being part of the ceremonies cast. Of course I was in another country, had to learn the whole language, totally different experience for that sort of stuff, but it runs so much like a drum corps that I just fell in, no problem. I knew what we were doing at all times. They ended up making me like a line leader person, and they were like, that's weird. Why is this American girl here in charge of us? We're all Brazilian and we know Portuguese. Why is she in charge of our line? But I just knew what I was doing because it was just like drum corps. And seriously, the way we'd run drills, and then they'd be like, okay, go here and then do this dance, and then go here and do this dance. And then the cool thing is we had these little headsets, so they could like, well, I don't know how cool it was. It did end up looking cool, but they could change what we were doing in the middle of the show. So we would be out there, and they're like, okay, do this little, like we had these little stands dances sort of things during the parade of athletes. They'd be like, do this little dance. Okay, now change it to the arm roll dance. And we'd be like, okay, we're changing our dance now. And it was just like on the fly. And then I ended up getting a close up in one of the cameras. And every single time a camera went by, I was like, hey, right in the camera. Not a single one of those have I seen. Okay. I don't know if those were broadcast anywhere. However, when I got back to my locker at the end of the night, I opened my phone. I had 200 text messages from people and like 30 screenshots saying they had seen me and I got a close up. But it was one of those cameras that was way up on top of the stadium that zoomed all the way in on me. And I was like this, listening to my headset for the next instructions. That's what it was. I was just like, never mind all of the like happy, smiling performance faces I gave. That was what it was.
Well, look at it this way. At least you didn't have a piece of equipment in your hand and dropped it.
That's true. That would have been tragic. Chris, do you have Olympic pins or memorabilia?
I do. They gave us some limited edition pins. Oh, my light. But it's the opening the Olympics themselves and then the closing ceremonies.
Wait, they gave those to you?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And we got hats. And we got a shirt. And I think we got a fanny pack. Oh yeah, it was. They spent that coin on us, baby.
That's amazing. No,
That's nice.
those pins, that series of 3, that exists for all of the modern day Olympics.
Yeah.
But they didn't give us ours. We had to go buy them, and then like they don't release them all at once. So like you had to hit the Olympic store, like at the right time to get the right pin. I have 2 of them. I'm missing one.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate, and I've held on to it all this time. They've never come out of the package. Like it's just
nice.
Yeah, no, it was fun. That was a really, really fun time.
I can't complain too much. We got these.
I mean,
that's great.
I mean,
okay, so I feel gypped, don't you, Barbara?
I was going to say, somehow we ended up with those Olympic flags that we walked out. You know, we had there were 40 of us, or there were 50 of us, because the rifles had to carry flags. We taught them. We ended up with those flags.
Yeah, it was interesting.
We're just not going to say anything more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's true.
Didn't we go out and retreat at DCI with those? I should know. I was out there.
Yeah, we had a few that we would,
we would guard the American flag for retreats with 2.
When you had an American flag section, right?
So that was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
All right. Well, Nicole, I'm going to need you to run up to the box and make sure there's power for the judges up there, because we have a show on Saturday. And we need to get back out on the field, because all this reminiscing is great, but these kids need to rehearse.
Hey, this is Christine Ream
and Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
All right, we are back on the sideline, and we're about to do some What Are We Doing? This is one of my favorite segments, because we get to give our critical feedback on anything we want to in the marching arts. Or for today, we'll throw in the Olympics as well.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
So, Nicole, do you want to start us off?
I sure do. What are we doing not having an Olympic, I don't know, drum corps or marching band?
Like a corps sort of thing?
Exactly. See, here's my thing, and this is why I bring this up. Breakdancing has now become an Olympic sport.
Right.
You know, and I watched some of it. I'm down. We need to put the drum corps in that, in that way, shape, or form. I think that it would just add another layer. And it's honestly, they're trying to add another layer. All the events that go on in in the Olympics.
Right.
So how about it? If y'all know some people, let me know.
We need to make some calls. Let's make some calls.
Yeah, make some calls.
Chris, what are we doing?
Okay, what are we doing with all the musicians, the wonderfully talented musicians of the Paris opening ceremonies? All the musicians, all the dancers. Oh, no, just the musicians. with their priceless instruments outside in the pouring rain.
I
felt
saw.
like the Paris Philharmonic playing it right in front of the Eiffel Tower, and it's just pouring. Or let's just say all the grand pianos with standing water on their lids. I'm just sitting there cringing the whole time. I felt so bad for all the musicians and their priceless instruments, but yeah, what are we doing? Let's put protective stuff over those instruments, please.
Do you think they're
literally
real?
make them.
Oh, I know. I sell them.
What happened?
Right? They didn't call me. But my favorite was watching. There was one point, I don't know, the faceless runner was doing something, and there was like the French National Army band standing on one of the bridges, and they were doing a dance with some Parisian pop stars who kind of looked like Beyonce. But I'm watching the band, and they're doing their little choreography, and I'm watching the French horn players because I'm a French horn player, and the horn is nowhere near the guy's face. He's just bouncing back and forth. He was my favorite. I'm like, I'm not playing. You can't.
Not
hear
concerned
me.
with the notes. It's fine.
Yeah, you're fine. But yeah.
He said, I have one job. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Training. I'm not playing. I'm French.
Barbara, what are we doing?
You know, I love seeing the can dancers in Paris. How come no one else has ever played Gay Parisienne and drum corps? That's a good one. We did. You saw that show, Paul.
Are there drum corps in France? I know there's several European drum corps.
I don't know. I don't think so.
They're too busy making butter and having cheese and eating great food.
With their baguettes.
It's fine. They have great wine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
not a problem.
UK for sure, but that's a good question about whether they have drum corps. Okay. Well, we'll have to start one there, I guess.
They do in England and they do in the Netherlands, because I've been there and I've been to those shows. So, yeah, I loved the can dancers. I was happy.
So you're just trying to take us right into the Gush and Goes is what you're trying to do here.
Oh, yeah. Why did it have to rain? That made me sad.
There we go. So Paul, you get the vibe of how the What Are We Doing segment works. So do you have any critical feedback you'd like to give? Doesn't necessarily have to be Olympic.
It's going to be Olympic.
Okay.
So what are we doing with the cardboard beds in France that the Olympians are staying on? That they were specially designed for them because they couldn't do any badness on those beds, they thought. So I don't know. I thought that was
the Olympic. The Olympic members are getting the full drum corps experience. That's kind of cardboard beds, baby. Yeah.
Those beds could not be comfortable.
They're probably kindling for the wintertime.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, here, we sleep on it during the summer, we burn it during the winter.
There you go.
They're lucky that they get to lie down. Because 5 years of tour, I was sitting up on those buses.
Right.
So, yeah. At least they can lie down, right?
I would like to know, what are we doing about these costumes? I just learned recently that a lot of the athletes have to pay for their own costumes, and I was like, wait a minute. That's like the kind of thing we do in Winter Guard. Like, the members pay for their own costumes, and we are at the Winter Guard level. We're not at Olympic level. Like, why are they paying for their own costumes? That's insane.
Right.
So, I mean, like their uniforms?
I didn't realize that. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Now, and not all of them. Some of them have sponsors that pay for it for them, but they're not just having costumes donated to them, and they're Olympic athletes. It's wild.
That's wild.
So, but I thought that with Ralph Lauren doing the uniforms for the American team, that was all included when they open up their little packages on camera. I don't know. I mean, that's really sad.
It could be a sponsorship, because sponsorships do exist.
Oh.
But they made a really big deal because, was it Flava Flav had like donated the whole like all the so anyway that opened up the discussion. I think it was it like the swim team or something that he donated all of their funds to? Water polo. Okay. So he donated all this, and it because he had the same idea I had. He looked at it and he's like, why do these people have to pay for their own stuff? Like, this is crazy. They're Olympic athletes.
And it's something they really shouldn't have to worry about at all, you know? I mean, for what they do, and it just doesn't make sense, really.
Yep.
I did watch a TikTok about one of the athletes, and she was showing off like all of the stuff that they got. So supposedly they got 2 big duffel bags and like these different, I want to say like warm-ups. I don't want to really say uniform, but everyone had the same like tops and bottoms.
Yeah.
And they got big jackets and stuff like that. So I don't know about the whole, buying your own Leotard and uniform.
The gymnastics team had a big sponsorship that happened, and supposedly their costumes this year are the most expensive USA Olympic uniforms in history. And it has to do with how many rhinestones are all over their costumes. So
yes, Swarovski Crystal sponsored them. They were gorgeous. Yeah. I saw them. When were they on? Yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
Yep. Sparkled.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, I feel like we've been excited about like everything we've talked about on the show so far, but let's get into our Gush and Goes.
Great job, everyone. Set your equipment down. Gush and go.
Nicole.
Oh, goodness. I am still gushing over. I mean, I know the Olympics just started and somewhat not. But I'm still gushing over what I can see because like I used to live in Texas. And so there is a huge, I want to say huge, maybe 2 handfuls of people that are kind of high up there on the rankings that are from Texas. And there was a kid that was actually from the city that I taught in Texas, Tomball. He's on the men's team, so it's exciting to see that. Of course, I'm going to watch Simone Biles.
Of course.
And then there's a swimmer. I think her name is, I forgot her name. Katie something, maybe. Katie Ledecky. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sounds right.
She's 27 now. She went to her first Olympics when she was 15, broke records then, has kept going back. You know what I mean? Like she has spent the majority of her life training for the Olympics and, and doing all that. So I kind of feel like I'm watching a superhero on TV.
And also Katie Ledecky is an alto sax player.
Oh, shut up. See, this is
why.
She was in the Stanford band too.
So she's a band geek like us.
Stanford band. Like,
yeah, that's a
put your kids in band. They might be Olympians someday. You never know.
That's right.
That's right.
Period.
Chris, what do you want to gush and go on about?
Okay, I'm going to go off Olympics and go into DCI just a little bit. And I need to gush 2 things. One, all of the cadet members that are now marching in other corps and seeing them flourish and being successful and having the summer of their lives. I think like 6 out of the 14 mellophones at Carolina Crown are from the cadets. So
wow,
I'm a mellophone player, so gotta give it up to the golden section. But my other gush is the Blue Coats. That show from top to bottom is pure theater, pure magic. And I'm just so excited for the staff and the members and everyone that they are incredible. So go Blue.
Yeah, absolutely. They were, I mean, the one clip I saw of them is just like, wow.
Yeah.
This is something definitely different in the activity again, the pushing the envelope, and it's definitely out of the box. It's like,
yep.
Yeah, good for them.
Did anybody watch the DCI Broken Arrow show? No?
No.
Okay. Well, if you've seen their show, at the very beginning of the show that they do that one first note and it's all on reverb, and then they kind of meander over to the other set. Well, they didn't have the reverb on for the first note of the show. And so I could just feel everyone's heart go, and the
Oh,
sound guy
no.
going, God damn it, the mute button was on.
That's it. Start over. Reset.
Technical difficulties.
Right? So,
Did they
yeah,
reset? Did they reset?
No, they kept going, but the second hit did have the reverb, so it was kind of like oopsies. Hit the button, everything was fine. But that's still for 12 counts.
And that's, I mean, live shows, stuff happens.
You got to think on your feet.
Yep.
Yeah, the kids are probably like this. What
Yeah.
happened? Oh, we're back in.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go. Keep going. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my gush.
Barbara, what would you like to gush and go about?
I love seeing Phantom do so well this year. They look great on TV, so I'm looking forward to seeing them in Allentown. Let's do the rain dance that doesn't rain. But I'll get to see them in Indy too. I'm really excited to see them live. And everyone seems like they love their show. And I finally got to meet Tony Hall at Peggy Twig's funeral. And so just to kind of talk to him sort of in between and how excited he was. And I just thought, wow, he just seems like a good match. So that'll be fun. I can't wait to see them because I competed against them my whole drum corps career. And I'm just glad to see him just getting everyone excited. I think it's kind of the most enjoyable show this year. Blue Coats are great. Don't get me wrong. I love them, but there's just something electric there. So I like it.
I have heard more about Phantom this year than I have in the last, I don't know, decade probably, at least.
People go crazy.
And I think one of the best things about Phantom this year especially is that J.D. Shaw is back as the brass arranger.
Yeah.
He was at Vanguard for a couple of years when they made their big push. And you can completely hear the J.D. Shaw influence when you listen to that horn line. They're incredible. Incredible. Yeah. Love that show. And
they sound good. They look good. You know, I like minimal props. So
very
you
classic.
don't want to be paying for props with expensive gas and inflation anyway. So to see how there's been some creativity out there, Phantom is one of them. They do a lot with something that's there, but it doesn't take a lot of space. So I thought that was designed really well. So,
yep.
Paul, what would you like to gush and go on about?
I'm going to go back to the Olympics, although I had to gush about troopers.
You can do both. I will have no restriction there.
Okay, so Celine Dion's performance was just. Was one of those. It was like one of those drum corps moments where I just couldn't. I mean, I'm home alone by myself and I'm crying because the energy of her was just in. And how she looked, and just it was flawless. It was just really, to me, was the moment that was just like, that's amazing to me. She's amazing.
I could hear Carolina Crown playing that next year.
Yeah, right. And especially because of what she's going through physically with the stiff person syndrome. What a fighter and what an amazing human being. So, and I love watching the clips. I guess yesterday or today of her just being so happy just to be around her fans. She was, casual in the streets of Paris and, writing autographs and just giving her time. And, she doesn't feel the best. Just amazing road to recovery, just blown away. And then drum corps, I want to give it to the troopers. Now I feel like I have to see them with that same kind of raw look that they're going after, And my friend Matthew that saw them last night said they brought the house down. They brought out the old trooper uniform, and he said it was a little. He felt, well, he's younger than me. He felt like it might have been a little bit on the for us on the nostalgic side, but it brought the house down. So I guess I have to catch it live and see what that's all about. So.
I've heard so many good things, and I saw that they had beat SCV. Do you know it's been 47 years since the Troopers scored higher than SCV at something?
Unbelievable.
I actually remember, so yeah.
You're like, I was there.
You saw them that season, yeah.
Well, and it's also interesting that Paul and Sandy Rennick who write the drum book for SCV also write the drum book for the troop. So just saying, little sibling coming up and saying, "Come on, let's go."
Yeah,
And they're both original DCI,
Yeah.
drum corps too, which is good.
Oh yeah.
And then there's a lot of talk about the Mandarins, and that show this year too.
Weird.
So I'm
What a
kind
great
of
show.
jealous. I wish I was going to Indy this year, and it's not going to happen. But I guess it'll be flow marching on my big TV screen at home. So
That is not a bad way to watch, though.
Exactly.
So that's the most comfortable seat.
Right.
Hey, it's called Gush and Go, not Gush and Stay. Let's go.
Well, thank you guys for a great rehearsal this week. Thank you to our hosts, Nicole and Chris. Thank you to our guest clinicians, Barbara Hopkins and Paul O'Keefe. Where can our listeners find you guys on social media if they want to follow you?
I'm on Colorguard Corner on Facebook. You can find me there too.
Yeah.
Or, on Facebook.
Is Colorguard Corners an open group, right?
Yeah, it's an open group. No, sorry, it's a closed group. But we just want to make sure there's some kind of connection with drum corps and it's not a lot of scams. So yeah, it's a great group of people. It's a great resource for videos and for announcements for the color guard community and as a whole. It's a great group.
And I just want to plug Drum and Bugle Corps Museum because I know Bill Ives does a really good job, and it's fun to look at all that stuff. So
Yes. One more thing, don't forget we have our YouTube channel now that has many of our interviews coming out as full video editions. And if you want to see all of our Olympic memorabilia, you're going to have to watch it on video. So you might as well go over there and subscribe so you don't miss those. So before you close out your podcast listening app, go subscribe, write us a review, share this with a friend, follow us on social media @On a Water Break, and we'll see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
Go practice.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Reams. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.